Gold prices are some of the highest prices we've ever seen in Canada. And with our margin, we should be able to do quite well with that working capital. It gives us a good safety buffer. It allows us to deal with any surprises that we might have. And it also helps to fund both exploration and most importantly, mine development, which is what a lot of junior mining companies struggle with right at the beginning.
Hi, and welcome to the Assay TV. I'm very pleased to be joined here today by Derek White. Derek is the President and CEO of Ascot Resources, a Canadian junior exploration and development company focused on restarting the past-producing premier gold mine in British Columbia's prolific Golden Triangle. Thanks so much for joining us today, Derek. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We last heard from Ascot at our London event at the end of last year. You shared an update on your drilling programme and the results you were getting there throughout last year. So I understand you've now started off this year with some very exciting news. So maybe you could talk us through the financing package that you've just announced.
Yeah, as people are aware, we're a project in getting near the end of construction, about to go into production. And we'd signaled to the market in the fall that we were going to need to finance our working capital, make sure that we had enough money to start the mine, and make sure that we also had enough money to finish the project. And we just recently announced kind of a three-prong financing. We always had plans to buy back a 5% NSR royalty that Boliden had. And so that was one element. And Sprott, the main funders in our stream, came with a royalty buyback deal. So that was for 30 million US, and that's quite helpful. And some of those, we'll get into the details of that, but that's one part of the key element of it. The second part was in our existing financing documents, we had a cost overrun facility for cost overrun and working capital for 20 million US. And Nabari, who is our CD holder, kind of stepped up to the plate to basically put that in place. And then the third one was, our major shareholders, with the help of BMO and Desjardins, basically gave us a bought deal to put another $25 million Canadian of equity. And when you kind of combine the three elements of that, that gives us more than enough money to finish the construction of the project, and make sure that we have enough money to buy the royalty back, and also have the working capital that's necessary when you start up a mine.
Great, excellent. Well, it sounds like a very exciting time and a great way to start 2024. Could you talk to us in a bit more detail about those three elements that you've just mentioned and how the royalty package is going to work out? Could you give us a bit more background?
Yeah. Obviously gold prices are pretty high right now, and mines like this can make quite good money. And when we acquired this asset off Boliden and a few other local royalty holders, had a 5% NSR on anything that we produce from the Premier and Big Missouri mines. And we had an option as part of that acquisition agreement to buy that back for approximately 14 million Canadian. So it was worth quite a lot more than 14 million Canadian. And it was a tool that we could use to finance. And basically, when we put the stream in place, when we started the construction, Sprott wanted us to buy that back. And we just accelerated that. So that we were able to do that from the start. And basically what it does is it drops the 5% NSR to a 3% royalty, but it gives us $30 million US for that. And it allows us the right to buy half of that back for some gold production between sort of 24 and 26. And so it gets us in a much more tenable position from a royalty perspective, and it also fills some of the holes. So, that was kind of a natural thing to do. And I think people knew we were talking to people, and obviously Sprott as the main streamer, and, they were the natural people to do that for us. The second element of it is often when you're building projects, you look for capital overrun facilities or working capital facilities, because you get the capital to construct a mine, you still need to be able to finance it through the ramp up period. And we had it was disclosed to the market, but they probably didn't realize it. But we had a right to do a $20 million US overrun facility. And Nabari was our existing CD lender. And they kind of stepped up to the plate and filled the hole that we needed to get that done. And we'd always had the intention to do that. And so that was kind of a natural fit. And then, in junior mining, especially in junior gold mining, we've seen a lot of gold mines around the world struggle in their first year of production, or they don't have quite enough capital. Obviously, the market, especially in Canada or North America, is pretty tough for junior miners. And because the other two parts of the capital were coming along stream, and we're so close to gold production with the gold price right now, we were able to have some of our shareholders and some new shareholders come into the story. And a lot of people are looking at the gold industry and saying, gee, some of these junior gold miners, if they actually make production, this is a pretty good value proposition, and nobody wants any risk. And so obviously, because we're so close to the end of construction, at the end of Christmas, we were 86% complete on the construction piece. And so that, really gives us the capital to finish the construction, do all the mine development, have all the working capital we need to get ourselves in a good position.
Great, excellent. Well, and as you've just mentioned, kind of challenges with struggling through a kind of funding ramp up phase for a lot of junior miners, especially in quite a challenging environment at the moment. Obviously, it's great that you have this financing in place, and you feel that's gonna give you the buffer to weather the storm. What does that working capital look like through your ramp up phase for you guys?
Yeah, based on what we see right now, the project will finish its construction at the end of March, and it'll start its first gold pour and start to ramp up its production in April. These ramp ups are always hard to call, but I think plus or minus that's a 3 to 4 month exercise. And at the time, when we bought the royalty back and funded all the construction requirements, I would say we're in that sort of neighborhood of around $30 million Canadian of working capital, which is more than enough for what we need. And you start to feed more and more ore to the mill as the months go on, and at a plus $2,000 US gold price. And gold prices are some of the highest prices we've ever seen in Canada. And with our margin, we should be able to do quite well with that working capital. And it gives us a good safety buffer. It allows us to deal with any surprises that we might have. And it also helps to fund both exploration and most importantly, mine development, which is what a lot of junior mining companies struggle with right at the beginning.
Excellent. Thanks, Derek. And more generally, can you give us a bit of an update on your construction progress and how the mine development is going?
Sure. So I'll talk about the construction progress first. So as I said earlier, we're at 86% complete. The biggest struggle for us has been the tailings facility. And earthworks are always very hard to predict. And we've been very lucky this year. Although it was cold in this part of the world, we didn't get a lot of snow. And we're just finishing those earthworks. And really the remaining things to kind of finish the project are finishing the piping, which we're well advanced on. The piping contractor did extremely well. Systems and controls. We've just completed the energization from the old power to the new grid, and that went pretty well. So we're happy about that. And then it's really just pre-commissioning and commissioning. So we don't really have that much more construction to go in terms of actually building things. It's more kind of getting things started, commissioning them or pre-commissioning and checking them and transitioning. So in the 14% left to go, really, we have a little bit more on the tailings dam and some of the piping around the tailings dam, a little bit more on the piping in the mill. And then it's really pre-commissioning and commissioning, which are the two main phases. On the mining development, we're developing two mines. So we have the Premier Northern Lights portal that we're constructing right now, and then the Big Missouri mine. And the goal is to get as much mining flexibility as possible. And we're really focused on development right now. And we'd like to have at least 9 working areas. One of the things we've learned lessons and watched other people is mine development is really critical. The more flexibility we have in feeding the mill from different mining areas, the better. And the Premier Northern Lights portal will probably be completed roughly in end of May. And so the combination of these two things, so we feed the mill mostly from the from the Big Missouri mine in the beginning. And then as we move towards the summer, both mines are starting to feed, which gives us a lot of mining flexibility. So really, we're just focusing with our mining contractor on getting that development done and giving ourselves as much flexibility as possible. And in general, it's going pretty well.
Great, excellent. Well, sounds like a very exciting time for Ascot and like lots coming up. Is there anything that our audience and the investors should be keeping an eye out to hear from you over the next few months?
No, I mean, obviously just to watch this space, but typically for investors, there's kind of two inflection points where they often do very well in investing in mining companies. One is when there's a major discovery and there's a discovery, multiple that's usually added to that, although that's been harder in recent days. And the other one is the de-risking event from moving from construction. into operations. And as you move into operations and ramp up that production, usually stocks are pretty undervalued to the cash flow that they can potentially generate. And that's especially true right now where we've got quite a high gold price. So, I think Ascot, offers a pretty good opportunity. There's not so many people building these mines right now because of the, limited amounts of capital and all the regulatory and other issues and construction issues that people have to get through. So I think, Ascot's one of the rare few that's going to be one of the next gold mines in British Columbia and, potentially in Canada. And so we think that offers very good value for investors.
Excellent. Well, yeah, we definitely look forward to hearing more from you in 2024, and good luck with it all. Thanks so much for joining us today, Derek.
Yeah, thanks for having me.